Copyright 2017 Win Your Brand. All rights reserved. This video is subject to copyright owned by Win Your Brand. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this video is expressly prohibited, unless Win Your Brand has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.
Just leverage off of your work.
Those are the kinds of things that you want to do. Which way is the right way, and which moon do you observe, which time zone do you observe?
I know. That's what's cool. It's like this summer I've been
Yeah, it's good. I like learning.
It's going to catch fire.
Okay, so let's just start the second part. So this is working group discussion part. So
I thought you were going to let us out early.
you wanna we
We
can
leave early. We like it. We like it here.
No, I'm just kidding.
it's outside is brutal outside.
It is crazy outside.
Yeah.
How about that thunder yesterday?
Yeah, my dog was cuddling with me the whole day. It was awesome.
It's like 4 o'clock. I was sitting facing this, so the windows behind me, and a big flash in the room, and going, oh. And I was like,
The storm drains are overflowing.
right now?
Yep. This is the phone call I
Good.
got.
My sump pump might actually work this year. Woo!
Yeah, the phone call I got was around exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah?
Okay, so I know Mike had some issues with structure of the content last time, so I want to just quickly review the structure of the content. So if I have a title and I want to deliver for this title half an hour, 1 hour, 3 hours, doesn't matter how long, content or videos or workshops. The technique I explained last time is a technique to create this content. So you should start with a title that you would like. Let's just for simplicity to say, okay, I would like to record my next video with this particular title. So can each one of you put down a title that you would like to talk about? If you have a previous titles, it's great. Let's just redo the whole exercise again. You may find some insights. So can you write just a title of 4 to 5 words which you would like to have as a video recording for whatever service you are doing? And when you are ready, let's just share different titles you guys may have. Curious, Bakri, are you ready?
Oh yeah, yes, I have 5 of them. So the first one would be self-talk, self-sabotage, vicious cycle, acceptance, and impact. And just to explain impact a little bit, usually when we do things, we focus on the impact on other people, but most of the time we neglect the impact on ourselves.
Okay. Samir, do you have titles?
My title is You are hardwired to feel and think this way.
Okay. Sandon, do you have title?
Yeah, I was just making sure I googled it right. It's called the levels of involvement.
Okay. Michael, do you have title?
Improper bookkeeping will cost you money.
Okay. When you look at title, you have to remember the following issues. Is people will trigger with titles based on a dollar value, based on a relationship, based on a process or information, and based on time to delivery, okay? So if you understand these triggers, I will go to the title like impact is not a title.
Oh, so that you don't want the triggers to be a title.
Yeah, the triggers can be a title. So, do you know the Jurassic World movie?
I just watched that last night, yeah.
I watched last night too. What is the title of this movie?
Jurassic World. Something else.
And something else. So the something else actually qualify the last word. So give you some So when you put a title for people to come to it, you have to understand, like what Mike said is, he talks about process, he talks about losing money.
Oh, so I could say like leveraging levels
Fallen
of
Kingdom.
involvement
Fallen Kingdom, yeah.
Yeah.
versus so leveraging levels of involvement instead of just saying levels of involvement, or using levels of involvement to build relationships.
Or grow your business.
Yeah, or grow your business. So you should be able to consider these particular triggers and who are your people. So when you say impact only, is very vague.
Mm-hmm.
If your audience are relationships or like whatever quadrant, you can use language relevant to it. My customers are mainly business oriented and business process people, so he has a business process to it. That's right. So this is just a comment on the title. Now, under the title, how can I create content for this title? So the rule was simple. If I know the benefit of this particular talk, because any talk or any event, you must have a product sheet to it, right? Mm-hmm. So if I know the benefits of this particular piece, I should be able to create what we call it as topics. So I should be able to create 5 topics, 7 and 3 in order. For the sake of the time, we cannot do 5, 7 and 3. Let's just start with 3 topics. Can you have topics which will be relevant for somebody who will come under this title?
So you're saying the topics are like benefits? Or
If you have the benefits, you will be able to create topics. So I will start with Mike because Mike has the most aggressive title. So what was your title, Mike?
Improper bookkeeping will cost you money.
Improper bookkeeping will cost you money. So in your understanding, if somebody will come to this title, what they want to know about under? They may want to know what is bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm. How much money can I save?
How much money can you save? Proper versus improper bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. The process of select a bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Do it yourself versus hiring somebody.
How will I feel once I have proper bookkeeping?
How I will feel, or how I can decide, how I can validate, or how I can test, or how do I know I have a proper bookkeeping. So all of these are prospective topics.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Can I also talk about what are the tools of bookkeeping? Like QuickBooks, what else? There's few things, right?
Yeah.
We use QuickBooks as a
QuickBooks, Wave, Simply Accounting,
yeah. So
Zero.
So if there are 4 different tools,
Mm-hmm.
you can say what are the tools of bookkeeping, and then you can give an example of each one of them. So now we have 4 subtopics. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk about these 4 ones, and then I can give a comparison, advantage and disadvantage of each one of them, which will give me a 6th topic. That's right. So one topic could be tools, overview of tools of bookkeeping, and then each one of the tools will be one topic because I can spend 5 to 10 minutes explaining the tool. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end I can give a comparison. So just having tools, you already have 6 subtopics. Sorry, 6 topics. And when you talk about what is bookkeeping and proper and the other topics we mentioned right now, I believe we are beyond the 15th topic. That's right. Make sense?
Yes.
Make sense, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
For sure, you have an introduction and the conclusion. It's not part of the topics.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure, there's also a topic called introduction and the topic to call to action and what next. We did not talk about it here. Here we talk about the real delivery. The next step should be a distill step. So this is how I document the topics. So once I document the possible topics, if you have more than those, it's great. And guess what could happen? If you have too many topics, what will happen? You will have part 1, part 2 for title, that's right? You can split your talk into 2 different topics, 2 different titles, part 1, part 2, part 3. Then we go through a next step which we call it distill. The distill step is, can I eliminate some of these topics?
We only have 3, so I think it's pretty
No, when you have 15, you may also eliminate from the 3.
good. Okay.
Who said that the 3 are the good ones? Can you merge these topics? Is there 2 topics you can merge into 1? Can you split this topic? On the split thing, or the split step, I can tell you, I will compare not the 4 tools for bookkeeping. I can compare QuickBook versus Simply Accounting, and then Simply Accounting versus something else. So I can take a topic which is number 6 in the topic we were talking about, comparison of the 4 tools, to be what? Comparison 2 tools side to side, and I will make it 3 subtopics, not 1 topic. That's right. Instead of another way to split a topic like comparison, instead of talking about the comparison, I can split them into advantage and disadvantage of each one of the tools. So the one topic, the 6th topic, the topic number 6, I can split it into 4 topics of advantage and disadvantage of each tool without comparison.
So split is like you have one and you cut it into 2.
You cut it into 2, 3, or 4, whatever it is.
So then you'd be making more topics from 1.
From 1, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
Okay? Like, for example, you talk about heart mass. So I will decide to talk about the heart and the mass. I know it doesn't make sense, but
No, it actually makes sense. I totally do that.
okay? The following step will be what? Ordering the topic. So can you go back and order these topics into a logical sequence?
Yeah.
Okay? So after you split, merge, eliminate, you should be able to order these topics in a logical sequence. Which one should lead to the other?
Give you some water too.
Huh? Oh, thank you. So, can you sort them into logical order? Any questions at this point? Any questions? Make sense? Now, I want to pick up one topic and I want to create for this topic ingredients. So, can you have 3 to 5 ingredients per topic? So, pick up one of the topics, which is not the first one, in the 3 topics you wrote down, and list 3 to 5 ingredients, which what you will talk about under this topic. So, for example, if I take QuickBook, what could I talk about it on QuickBooks?
How easy how easy it is to use.
So I can talk about the interface of QuickBooks.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about how I can make a data entry to QuickBook. I can talk about how I can create a report of a QuickBook from a QuickBook. I can talk about specific examples. I can talk about how you can set up the
Chart of accounts.
the chart of accounts, the chart of accounting on QuickBook. I can talk about how I can reconcile the transaction with my bank. I can talk about how I can get GST report from QuickBook. I can talk about how I can do the salary, the wage computation of the payroll. I can also talk about how I can track my inventory in QuickBook, how I can track my sales in QuickBook. Mike will say, okay, so I will talk about all of these. I'm not saying you talk about all of these, but in the structure right now, what are the ingredients you could cover. If you have so many ingredients, it's a good thing. That's right.
And then you don't need. One thing I noticed with my book was that like you wouldn't. I didn't need the 8 to 12 sub ingredients if I had like a lot of ingredients with 2 to 3 parts each.
It's a decision you can make, but once you finish the whole book, you realize that you need to go back and make it
Longer?
normalized or uniform. Like if you have 10 chapters, each chapter in a 200 page book, each chapter is around 10 pages. So you 20 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So for the 20 pages, you will find each ingredient will be like a page or page and a half. So that's why you need 7 ingredients to 10 ingredients per chapter. You can come say, oh, this particular topic is 2 ingredients only. It's too long to write 5 pages of ingredients. So once you put the whole system together, you realize that there is a sweet spot.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep, I get that.
So if I have a tool, it will be how to open the tool, the basic interface of the tool, how to set up the tool, how to provide specific examples of the tool. If you talk about emotion, intelligence, I can talk about the history of emotion intelligence. I can talk about what the application of emotion intelligence. I can give case studies of emotion intelligence. I can give specific applications. So all of these will be a relevant ingredient. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the next step? The next steps for the ingredient, it should be also distilled. Like there is nothing wrong with looking at the whole list of ingredients and you apply the distill. We can actually should call it ESMO because EMSO, is it EMSO or ESMO? Or some. Anyway, for the ingredient, once you have 3 to 5 to 7 ingredient, whatever number of ingredient, you should also apply the test. Can you merge some of these ingredients? Can you split them? Can you eliminate some? For sure, if we talk about ingredients around QuickBooks only and we have 4 tools, you cannot spend all the ingredients. The ingredients talk about QuickBooks, because the minute you start to say the interface, how to set up, how to use it for payroll, now you have like 12, 13 different ingredients, right? Or 10 ingredients. Each tool of the 4 will have, now you have 40 ingredients. So you automatically realize that you can give a detailed sub-talk. That's right? Makes sense? So can you picked up one topic, can you have 3 to 5 ingredients and you can share with them with us right now? So what's your 3 to 5 ingredients? What is first your topic and then what are the 3 to 5 ingredients?
All right. The topic that I will choose is self-sabotage.
Okay.
And the ingredients would be when something happens, how do you talk to yourself? And
Okay.
when you do that, how does that make you feel?
Okay.
How does that the second one would be, how does that affect your relationship with people surrounding you?
Okay.
The third one would be like, if that pattern continued, how would your life be a year, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Okay.
So showing the pain and three different ingredients where a person would be present to how self-sabotage impacts them.
Okay. Can you add 2 more ingredients?
Following that pattern in the past, how did that impact you? How did that make you feel?
Okay.
And the other ingredient would be like, what would you like it to be in the future? when similar situation happen, how would you like to change that pattern?
Okay. Shamir, do you have ingredients to share?
Sure. The topic is how your body processes emotions.
Okay.
Ingredient, the first one is you feel first before you think. The second one is if you are unable to process emotions, you will be triggered. Third one is if emotions are strong, you will say something you will really regret. Fourth ingredient is by recognizing early onset of stress, you can prevent outbursts. And then the last one is that giving a pathway for emotions to express themselves will allow you to become more emotionally intelligent.
Okay. Do you have Sri?
Yep. So I have, what are the levels of involvement? How do I discover where my product lies? And how do I utilize my levels of involvement? And then under what are the levels of involvement? So there's the learn, do, feel, do, learn, feel, and then just explaining them. And then how do I discover where my product lies? And then that's judge on the level of involvement, judge on how much brain power used, and then judge on frequency of purchase. And then how do I utilize the levels of involvement, mapping out your product, placing which level of involvement, and using it in your advertising.
Okay. Mike, do you have that done?
For what?
Sharing with us ingredient of any
Ingredients?
topic, of any topic.
You kind of walk through them, the benefits of QuickBooks Online,
Okay.
payroll module, sales view, expense entry, chart of accounts, inventory tracking.
Okay. Make sense?
I have one last ingredient that I forgot to put in, which was really the conclusion.
I will come to the
Is
conclusion.
the conclusion not part of the ingredient?
It's part of how we write the ingredient.
Okay.
Okay. Remember, this is a system where you don't need to know about what you can talk about. Like in a different context, we can start with 4 different words that we can make up with to show you the confidence that you can do that. Like if somebody comes and say, I cannot talk at all. I know all of you are presented somewhere, so you know how to come up with content. Some people will come and say, okay, we never presented before. Okay, they just make up some 5 words. And they make up some 5 words. Very awkward names. Very awkward combination of letters. And it's okay, can we talk about these 5 words now? People look, what? Yeah, you can talk about anything and everything with this system.
Fair.
Okay? So, if I wanna describe one ingredient, so here I will have one ingredient. So if for each ingredient, how can you talk about it? So the first thing on every ingredient, we have to share why should people learn about this ingredient? Okay? What is important about it? And how they can apply it.
So this isn't the topics.
So,
it's the ingredients.
why should you learn about this topic? About this ingredient, sorry. So why are we sharing this ingredient? So I'm sharing the interface of QuickBooks as a simple tool everybody knows, because I want to show you how simple this tool, and I can I'm sharing with you the steps so you can apply them if you decide to buy these packages, right? Or you want to test it for yourself. So whenever you come up with an ingredient, you should be able to articulate why it's important for me to know this piece of information. If you fail of doing this is not a legitimate ingredient. So can you share one of your ingredients?
My ingredient is how this pattern affected you in the past.
And why should I know about this?
To get out of the vicious cycle, to break that pattern.
Okay.
and the benefit you will get out of breaking that pattern.
How do I apply it?
How you apply it by changing communication with yourself, the way you talk to yourself, and the way things perceive to you. So I would teach you some distinctions for you to choose between how you felt in the past and how you want to feel in the future, and how to transform your feeling from how it happened in the past to how you want to feel in the future.
Okay. All what you talk about,
The process.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
so when people are down, people are here.
Okay.
When people are triggered for the money, people are here. Okay? When so if I can take back
Mhm.
and shift to what you said, I can say, what's the ingredient again? Sorry. Read the same ingredient title. What's the ingredient again?
Vicious cycle.
No, it was
Sorry.
repeated pattern.
It's the pattern of being in a vicious cycle.
No. What did you say?
About the title or the
The
ingredient?
title of the ingredient.
Whether self-sabotage. I think it's either self-sabotage or being in a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it was not vicious cycle. It was being same cycle in the past.
Okay, so
This is what you said. Like how have been being in this cycle in the past.
right.
So I'm sharing how you can. I'm sharing. So if you have awareness of what happened in the past and you are cautious of how these cycles have been developed in the past, this will empower you. And once you recognize the cycles, you now become in control of your own.
That's very good.
I didn't say how.
Right.
Okay.
That's good.
I talk about what.
Okay.
I talk about who's in control. I talk about you can be immediately in control. I can make it more elegant by adding more adjective to trigger other triggers.
Okay.
It's not how.
Got it.
Okay. So if you can answer these two questions, why should I learn about this topic and how can I apply it as an audience to you? You are halfway through, because now people are hooked. So this is the importance. So now what is the next step? The next step is you answer the following questions. Start with what, why, when, where, who, how, whose, what does it cost, whatever other questions. You answer 3 or 4 questions of this or some of these questions. So the question will be, the common question I got is, there is a why here and there is why here. The why here is why should I learn? The why here is what?
Why should I change?
Or why does it happen?
Okay.
So if I continue on the cycle of patterns which happened to you in the past, I told you why it's important for you to learn about this cycle, because it will empower you. You are the one in control, and once you recognize this, how you apply it is, I will not say how you apply it, but just I will continue the 2-3 sentences. And now, what are these cycles? The cycles are whenever you have the same surrounding circumstances, whenever you see the same environment, you repeatedly doing the same reaction without cautious that you are offending other people. And why does this happen? Because you are not aware that the reaction from the other individuals, so you get yourself into these cycles. So this why is different than the first why. Okay, why do you want to change that? Because you want to have a much safer or a much better or a much coherent atmosphere, so you can increase your productivity, you can enjoy your life, and you can build a stronger relationship where you can benefit from work perspective, workplace perspective, personal perspective, life perspective, whatever. That's right.
Got it.
And if you can answer 3 or 4 of these questions, because we are looking for how long per ingredient. 3 minutes, 5 minutes,
Yeah.
Wow.
okay?
I guess I need you to say it in a different way, the what, why thing.
There is no exact questions for why, what things.
No, I mean.
You make up a question, start with the word what,
Yeah.
why, you make up a question, you come up from the question to make it a strong statement,
But what,
and you repeat this statement. You just say the statements.
I know. I'm just trying to understand. So I got the why. Do I need to learn this? How am I going to apply this? Then I'm not clear on the difference between what I just, the why and
So
the how.
what is this ingredient about?
So in my case, it's it says you feel first before you think. That's the ingredient. And
So what do you feel first before you think?
you're right.
The
So-
science demonstrated that feeling will trigger your thoughts.
So is that the what in the? In
This is
the,
what do you mean with it, right? What feeling before you think. So science use it's again something I learned in the deep my heart. So I'm trying to come up with your language because this is wrong. It's the opposite.
Okay.
It's the opposite. There are scientists they say the opposite, but you say people will feel before they think. So science demonstrated that you have your feelings first, and their feelings will come earlier because you'll take you longer time to think.
Yeah.
And this is a description of what is it.
Yeah, but that's already the ingredient.
This is the ingredient. This is the what. You explain the ingredient.
Yeah. So, but the ingredient. Okay. So basically, what you're saying is that I don't. The ingredient is not verbalized in my topic. Ingredient is the what actually. Because my ingredient is you
The
feel-
ingredient is QuickBooks.
Right.
That's right. He talks about QuickBooks, simply accounting.
Yeah.
So what is a QuickBook? So a QuickBook is a tool to capture transactions
So I get that.
so you can track it.
I get that.
So what is feeling before thinking, or you feel before you think?
That's what I don't understand. I don't think.
So what is feeling before thinking? The moment you start to feel, it will always be breathe a time, or it will be earlier before you have thoughts.
Yeah, but that's my ingredient title.
And this is your ingredient title, and you have
But you need
to
explain it. So
you have to
feeling is tied
explain
to
it.
Emotion, whereas thinking is tied to logic and process, right?
Okay.
So that could be one way to
Yeah.
further expand upon your title.
Okay.
Well, what do you
I
mean?
I guess I'm struggling because there's nothing. I can't bring it down to a lower. I can't break it down further because it's already at a very simple state. That breaking it down further, and maybe I'm not thinking.
Yeah, but to me, I don't understand that.
Okay.
You talk about feeling and thinking, oh, frick, I feel, I think, I cry, whatever. Well, feeling is more tied to the emotions and the sensations you feel from your body, which has come from nowhere, whereas thinking is a rationalization of a process, of a logic.
Okay.
You know.
So
And you can refer to a sales process, right?
So I mean, I can distill it down to saying what does feeling look like in your body?
It can be.
Um,
Remember, these topics are open for you. These ingredients are open for you. So wherever questions you can make, if what is not relevant
okay.
to this topic, there are 7, 8 other questions, like 5 other
For
questions.
you, probably it would be a how. Like, how do you feel when you start thinking about a situation? And what opened up for you talking about this topic is actually, I think of myself as a rational person, so I think before I feel. But what you're saying is turning that upside down. So if I'm reading this, or if I'm in a presentation that you're giving, I would want to know how can you prove that to me, that we actually feel before we think.
Okay, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And another question will be who.
Mm-hmm.
So who will think? Who will feel before thinks? Everybody.
Right.
So the strongest statement will be everybody is feelings before they think.
Mhm.
Do you guys agree? People will no. So let me explain to you why
Let
this
me
has
think
happened.
about
Or let me give you an example about a situation that you
Yeah.
actually thought that you were
An
thinking
example
before
will
thinking,
come.
but you actually were feeling before thinking.
An example will come as a building block, because after you've done this, before the example,
Mhm.
after you've done this, you should have a conclusion.
But wait, his story is going to be part of a substantiation in that 3
It's
minutes.
coming again. It's coming again. I'll bring it.
Okay.
Remember, there is a sequence we had last time. I don't want to disturb the sequence, okay?
Yeah.
So, the fewest number of points you can talk about any topic is why it's important for me to learn as audience.
Yeah.
How can I apply it? What is it? Who can do it? When it happen? And the conclusion that today I shared with you the ingredient of QuickBooks. I showed you how you can use it, and I give you a few examples so you can apply it. Full stop.
And what was the why? The second why again?
The second why this could happen, why it's important. You just make a question with starting with why.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the minimal 4 components of any ingredient, or it's supposed to be any sub conversation you have with your customers. Why it's important to have the discussion? How can he apply the outcome of this discussion? There is nothing wrong of saying, and this explanation will lead you to understand the following ingredient. Is there something wrong with it? So right now I'm explaining to you how to read music notes. So when we come to the practice, you can read your own notes on your own instrument. Is there something wrong with this? How to apply it? If you don't share how people apply, people will not own it. Okay? So this is the minimal level of ingredient. Now, what are the other levels of conversation? First one, we know people will conquer with a story. So can you give a story? You call it example
Mhm.
about this particular ingredient.
Okay.
Can you give more than one?
Sure.
Can you give with each one of these one?
Mhm.
Yes, if you have an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah.
No, if you have 3 to 5 minutes per ingredient. Remember, the ingredient is a subtopic in a topic, and you have already started with 15 topics. You made them 7, for example, or you made them 10 topics. And for each topic, you had 8 ingredients. 10 topics times 8 ingredients is 80 ingredients in total. If I spend 1 minute per ingredient, this is more than 1 hour. This is 1 hour 20 minutes. If I spend 5 minutes per ingredient, this is 400 minutes, which more than 6 hours, because 6 hours is 360. Okay, so I'm showing the structure, how to build it, and you can basically create whatever you like. It's function of how much you want to spend on this particular ingredient. So, for example, when Mike was talking about having like 500 words and you want to make it smaller, so the smaller part will be here. The longer version is when you give examples, when you give stories. That's right. Make sense? So, can you consider a story or an example for each ingredient? You should have at least 1 story per ingredient, because people will conquer with stories. Now, what are the stories? The stories are very straightforward. They are pain point, defining moment, they are happy outcome. That's it. So any story will be pain point, 3 to 5 pain points, defining moments, and the happy outcome. So let's just go back to think before, feel before thinking. So what's the story you can have about somebody? Feel before thinking.
So one that comes to mind is when people come to me and say, my heart is saying one thing, but my mind is saying something else. And so, and so the story around that is that how do you reconcile the two and know what is it that's for your best interest in this area?
Okay. So what are the pain points you can articulate?
Pain points are you take a long time struggling with yourself.
So struggling with yourself. What is the other? What is the other? The struggling with yourself is one pain point. What is the other pain point?
So the other pain point is it takes a long time for you to make a decision.
Okay. And what's the third pain point?
You might even miss the opportunity if it takes you to, yeah.
And what is the other pain
The
point?
other one is that people around you can actually will avoid you because while you're going through your own stuff, you are you're insular and you don't understand how you're affecting other people.
So you can share the story about Tim, the hypothetical Tim,
Yeah.
or Jean or Jennifer or whoever, and you say, "This is the observations I have." So I'm sharing with you a story to show you an example of how this could impact your life. They have these questions in their mind. They suffer from 1, 2, 3, 4 pain points, and once they learn about this, and they were able to discover in a session, this is the happy outcome came across. Make sense?
Totally does, yeah.
Now we go in with the stories, and we believe people will create correlation between what I say. So I will come and talk about story about this sloppy student who had bad marks, and then he would decide to study, and now he became the brilliant. This story is very naive, but when I come with a story about the sloppy student who had a bad mark, who had been disregarded by all of his friends, he has been isolated in the classrooms, he's always in trouble, the teacher will call him up, and his dad will and his moms will avoid having him around because they are feeling shame of his performance. He does not know what to do, and suddenly these pain points give material and maturity to the story.
And people can relate to those pain points for themselves.
If you can relate to this pain point, you are now, as an audience, owning the story. Make sense? We always overlook in stories. So somebody says, okay, I want to talk to you about an engineer downtown who got laid off, and then he started his business and he did great. Okay, what's the story here? Okay, so people come and say, we help people in career transitions. Okay, what's the pain point of before career transition? Like, what exactly you? So when you, I don't want to say you force yourself, but when you be in front of a camera or in front of somebody, and you will be basically look at the pain points, you can correlate to them. You can relate. Relating to them does not mean that they will come and buy your service. Relating to them means they will buy your story. They will agree on your story. They understand that you are somehow a good storyteller. I was in an event done by Hollywood, and they have lots of script writers, and these people are amazing. They were just telling you, like, 95% of the movies are the same script, by the way.
They are the hero's journey.
They are the same script.
Yeah.
They had the evil again is good,
Yeah.
and the good will struggle all the time, and then the good will be high and down. How many times? Like 5 times or 4 times in a movie. They have all
It's
this.
the steps.
Okay, and then what will happen is at the end, an unexpected things will happen, and then what will happen? The good will win. So the evil or the bad side will always harming the good, will always scaring them, will always give them grief. And then suddenly, and this was exact for the movie of yesterday. So yesterday you have this, what was called? The
Jurassic World?
no, what's this new species they found?
Oh yeah, the
My son was-
human one.
my one was saying the name, like
It starts with an I.
they found a new species.
They created this.
They created by DNA manipulations, and this is as close as human. And they want to sell it as a weapon. And this species actually, if you have a chance to look at the movie, towards the end, we're just taking over the good guys. We'll take over everything. And then what will happen at the end?
Good
New
guys win.
species in Jurassic World.
Yeah, what happens at the end is another species, another...
Indominus
yeah,
Rex.
yeah.
Well, don't say it.
Another species,
Spoiler, man.
what will happen, another species will take it over, and suddenly it will fall down on these big bones, and then it will die.
Now I
Nope.
need to see it.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done.
If you paid attention to what he just said, it makes sense for me because I saw it. But
You know?
if I didn't get the context, you would-
So, it's always like this. You see the Superman, the Spider-Man, the Batman stories are all the same. It's always this unknown who will position itself in the movie, and the movie will be solved. So,
Unless you're like the Lord of the Rings, where you leave people hanging until the next one comes on.
and this is a 5% of the movie, that's right? We're talking 95% of the movie are the same. So, the point I want to say is, if you want to say an example, remember in your mind, there are stool and there are 3 legs. Can you list 3 pain points? 2 pain points? 1 pain point? Some pain points? That's right? Can you say why people have been deciding to change? Sometimes people say, okay, they found themselves in this scenario. Like one guy was saying, I never been a public speaker. However, I will go to I believe he make up the story because he's a very famous actor. But he said like he started when he was young, his dad was drunk, and he will go around with these bikers and they will drink. And after they become completely drunk, they would like to talk and give public and talk from the podium. And he was there, and then his dad actually flunked down, and he just put him on the side like, can you just basically tell us? So he started to give up stories to talk about whatever. So his defining moment was basically he was on the spot talking to everybody, and then he found himself like a weekly MC of the same event. He wants to show that the defining moment of him create him as a good public speaker, which is I highly doubt the story. But, however, we conquer with the story, we remember the story. What else can you have for the ingredient? Can you have a testimonial? What's the difference between a story and testimonial? What's the difference between a story and testimonial?
Story is something not happened to somebody that not necessarily working with you or being impacted by you, but a testimonial that's somebody that got your experience firsthand and said that this worked for him.
This is a way to look at it. The way I look at it is testimonial start with he or she. Sorry, story start with he or she. Testimonial start with I. Okay, because if I don't have the defining moment, if I'm selling pressure techniques, defining moment will always demonstrate how they use my system or system like my system.
Wait, so it's not like somebody else saying I received these benefits. It's saying, how would you say that?
He or she, you give a name,
Right.
suffering from these pain points. They tested this and they
That's
had
a
this.
story.
This is the story.
Yeah. So then the testimonial
Is I.
So I. was able to-
Sam came in and said, I was suffering from 1, 2, 3. I decided to join your program, and Sam said, I received these benefits. The only difference between testimonial and stories is I or he or she. Testimonials are in a first person. Stories are about third person. That's it. Okay? If you want to push your program forward, the defining moment has to be so. Both of them are the same. Our defining moments, our pain points, our happy outcome. They are no different. Then you can decide to be more innovative by having images, having videos, having computer screen or like interfaces. Like if I want to have QuickBook, what should I have? Should I have an image for the interface of QuickBook, or should I be able to play QuickBook Live and share my screen and show you how to go with the mouse and the click here and there? That's right. If I want to talk about customer service, should I bring a Seinfeld video of customer service, like the soup one, or there's another one which is the snow business? If I want to demonstrate struggle, there is a very interesting cartoon called Snow Business by CBC. So if I bring videos in, and I believe many of you had the videos which I used to play, which is Just Do It. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Just Do It was made with an ingredient to empower people to just push them to do whatever they can, and don't plan too much. Just Do It is Terry Williams.
Terry Williams.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Don't think about this and that. Just
Yeah.
do it.
Just do it. So you can have bare ingredient, images, videos, computer interface, whatever you like. How long you need to spend on this ingredient? 3 to 5 minutes. What will happen if you find yourself spending more than 5 minutes? 10 minutes, for example. What does it mean?
You're saying too much.
This ingredient is supposed to be split into.
Oh.
So if I take the average between 3 and 5 minutes per ingredient on a video, what is the average? 4 minutes. So if I have it in this way, and all of you came up with some ingredient, can you spend 3 to 5 minutes? Yeah, I can spend like half a minute to a minute, how it's important and why you applied. I can spend 1 minute to 2 minutes answering these 3 questions. I can spend 1 to 2 minutes on a story. I can spend half a minute to conclusion, or half a minute to 1 minute. So you are now in the 5 minutes mark. 6 minutes is okay, but 10 minutes? Okay? You can also do what Sandra was mentioning early on. I can say, no, you know what? This is my most important ingredient. I will tell 3 stories about it. I will share 2 testimonials. I don't care about your 5 minutes mark. It doesn't matter. Does it matter to you? As long as the content is entertaining and people are connecting to it, linking to it, and
then you're saying like the ingredient, you have the why, the how, but then instead of just, yeah, 'cause that's where I stumbled last time was I did everything. I did why, how, like the 5 W's, then a conclusion, then a story, and a testimonial, and an image. But then you were saying you just have the ingredient, why, how, and then include that in the image.
At a minimum.
a minimum.
At a minimum.
Hmm?
At a minimum, those 3 ingredients. But you can do all of them if you want to.
Oh yeah, no, like with each ingredient, you either do the testimonial, the story.
It's not
the
either.
ingredient.
The first ones are the minimum, and these are the extra.
The first ones, this is the minimum.
The minimum is you need to know, to tell us why it's important,
And the
how we can
conclusion.
apply it. Then you explain it a little bit, and then you tell us, you conclude how, you conclude like the whole learning in one sentence. So people can move from a point to another.
Yeah, and that's
Okay?
that is the minimum thing. But then where does the story, testimonial, and image?
This are the extra to make it powerful ingredient,
Okay.
or these are the optional. Okay? So if you plan 20 minute spots or like 10 minutes spots, I believe you do in your 10 minutes or 15 minutes espresso shot 1 or 2 ingredients only. That's right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's usually 1 ingredient.
or 1 ingredient.
What's the CS?
Computer interface or computer software.
Your
Oh,
Like on
computer
Quick,
software.
yeah, on QuickBook, for example, do you want to show the actual computer interface of QuickBook, or you want to grab snapshots, or you want to record the video outside? Sorry, Shameg, what you were saying?
No, I was just saying QuickBooks. Is your QuickBooks
The QuickBook example.
demo.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
on-screen demo.
Or demo. Demo is another word we can use. You can also plan activities. So do you have an activity which will serve this ingredient?
Like an exercise, group exercise.
Group exercise, individual exercise. If you are online, will they pick up a book? Will they pick up part of a workbook? That's right.
Right.
So what kind of activity you can consider for the pattern of the past?
For me,
Yeah.
probably a laser coaching for someone. Tell me about the vicious cycle that you put yourself into, and I would laser coach him into, how do you feel? How does it make you feel? What do you end up feeling?
Okay.
And how does it work? And after that, I would be like, let's break that cycle.
So what other activity you can have as well? Like this is one type of activity.
Okay.
Now, if you have a presentation of 50 minutes or
Okay.
2 hours, you need 2 types of activities, right? 3 types of activities. So
Right.
what other activities you can have?
I can give a story about.
The story is different.
Okay. So what would be an activity? What would be considered an activity?
Pick up a piece of paper and write the top 3 things you want to achieve,
All right. So.
and share them with others.
Okay. So
What other activities? Shamir has a good activity because he's doing the breathing techniques. So
Well, I was thinking for this ingredient where I say that you feel before you think first, is if I can find, and I look for this, a bodysuit that has a bubble, like you can put around you, and it's about 3 feet in radius, that represents your heart's magnetic field. And then a hat, which is about an inch and a half radius, that represents your brain's magnetic field. And then what I would do is I'd have 2 people wear these, and I'd say approach each other. And what's going to touch first? Is it your heart's magnetic field or your brain's magnetic field? And that demonstrates that you feel first before you think, because your heart has a bigger magnetic field than your brain. So to bring that home, that picture would fossilize in their brains. And then I would talk about the science and where the research shows all of that, but that would be an activity that would stick in their brains.
make sense to you?
And you play bubble
It
soccer.
does. And what's coming
You
up
play
for me
bubble
is who wants to come and work for me with me, and I would get somebody out there, and I would start analyzing the whole thing, and focusing on the pain point, and the need to transform, and
Okay.
get everybody to see how that person felt the pain, the desire for a change or the need for a change, and then when they're transformed, how they're feeling. And
Okay.
that would be a good. That's the only thing that I can think of right now.
And to shift and expand our vision, if we go back to the QuickBooks example,
Mhm.
what kind of activity you can have? You can basically give them a chart account file,
Okay.
and you say open here, import the file. That's right. Let's just do the first transaction together.
Okay.
You go open this transaction, you just click here, here, here. This could be a legitimate activity for QuickBooks, that's right?
Okay.
Or for simply accounting or for whatever.
All right. Another one that I can think of is, take out your phone, take a picture of the water pitcher.
Boom.
That's how easy it is for you to scan your receipts and expense it using QuickBooks.
Yeah, this can be another activity. So
Mhm.
the point I want to make sure you understand here is this is a structured way to create content. So what's now missing at your end to do?
Conclusion.
We had conclusion here. So what's now missing at your end to do?
Audience.
As for the business,
If you do it for video, can you basically sit in front of your phone video camera and record some of this content?
Pound this out.
I tried that last time and it didn't work out very well.
So you should be able to video record every ingredient individually, because we cannot create. It takes so many skills to be able to talk for like 1 hour in front of a video camera with no edit.
Mhm.
I can do it. It took me a long time to be able to do this, and also takes away that you are not that much in the perfectionist area where you want to make sure you cut so many things, okay? So if you want to do this, if you can figure out a way to talk about one ingredient, like 5 times spots, 5 times slot all the way, and then stop the recording, and then look at the second ingredient, and just give it 5 times, 5 minutes recording, or 3 minutes to 5 minutes recording, and then stop the recording, and then you do the following ingredient, you will be basically able to video record your content.
And so where do we put this content? How do we market this content?
It's a different story.
Okay.
Different story. How to market the content, how to is a different angle of what we do. Now we are just focusing on what are the systematic ways to create content, new content which make us unique.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't come with a question is, oh, I cannot find anything to talk about. Like you said, you had like 500 words. Can you make the 500 word 2,000 words? Can you make the 500 word 20,000 word book? Yes, you can. Because if you keep adding many of these
Yeah.
to the ingredient of the 500 word will have at least 1 to 3 topics, and it may have like 1 to 3 ingredient per topic. If I go to back and increase the ingredients by like 7 to 10 ingredients, and for each ingredient I will add couple of stories and couple of testimonials, I will be there in the 20,000 words. It can scale very quickly, and this is one of the systems how to scale it very quickly. Does it make sense? So can we next time watch 15 minutes minimum video of each one of you guys?
Yeah.
It's a big sigh.
Yeah.
Why you have the system? That's right. And if you don't like your video, you like the audio only, you can make it as a podcast.
Mike, what did you feel?
What?
Your magnetic field right now is just like
It's
imposing.
just chaotic.
So what's missing now from this sequence to apply?
The doing.
The doing.
Just do it as ingredients. Forget about doing the whole thing. Do it as ingredient. Like when you drive from your home to your work, you can be able to record 1 or 2 ingredients.
Yes.
But watch out, because there is a zero tolerance policy around tickets for distracted driving. It's a 3 demerit and about $300 fine.
There's 3 demerits?
Yeah, and there is a zero tolerance policy. They don't reduce it in the court.
My assistant got ticketed for texting at a red light.
Yeah.
Oh, I
My
changed
client,
songs so
my client
much.
got nailed for that.
If you're like
If I'm-
punching
Yeah.
and it's like a 1 or 2 clicks, that's okay. But actually texting or holding the phone.
Actually, no. My client did was she just did this.
Yeah, on
Right,
the
but
GPS.
holding the phone.
Yeah.
Oh.
But if you have a phone holder,
Oh.
No, no,
and you're just clicking
that-
1 or 2 answering or not
Yeah.
answering, that's
Yeah.
okay.
The girl actually got because of the GPS. She was actually putting the coordinate on the GPS.
Right.
Yeah.
If you put the charger on the phone while it's on the holder, you get a ticket.
Yeah, yeah.
You get a ticket for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Man,
Because you're distracted. My friend got one of those. But if you're just doing answer or not answer,
Yeah.
but not typing or
Yeah. As long as you one button push.
Yes.
Push, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny because I was at a light at like 10 o'clock at night driving home once, and then I pull out my phone to like see the song, and then I put it down, and right beside me a cop was just looking at me,
Yes.
and I was like,
He was waiting for you to
he
do
was
this.
ready.
He was ready. for
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so
Anyway.
the question goes back to you is, can you reflect on this content, and can you commit that you will be able to show us next time, in 2 weeks from now, at least 15 minutes? Because there is more than this to a professional video.
Oh yeah.
Because remember the persuasion pillar, that's right? You need people to commit. How people will commit here? You have to answer the question, ask the question. Do you agree? Can you relate?
The thing on the
You
video,
need-
are you expecting us to put a call to action in there as well in the video?
You should put a call to action in the videos. If you are positioning the videos to be a promotional material.
Oh, right.
So in the conclusion, so what you should do is, once you start to record the video, you have to observe the language of this. You have also to observe the language of the brain, the dominant language, with the brain, the logic, the heart, the feet, and the guts. You have also to consider the 7 pillars of persuasion.
Yeah.
So, are you having commitment from people? Or you say, oh, for this topic is not, for this ingredient is not relevant. It's okay. It's not relevant. You can skip it. Are you consistent? Are you having, can you demonstrate social proof? If you said no, we can't, it's okay. So there is a sanity check you have to make among these 7 pillars. Among this, do you think or you feel, can you add of this material? And as I say, the way I was automating it the other day is we take the MP3 files, we convert them to text, and we have a Python tool which basically extracts the word you say.
Right. That's what it is.
And you should be able to augment power words and strong words as well. So, are you doing this? And how often you say I against you? The Python tool is a proprietary tool. It wasn't hard to develop, but was. However, if you have the MP3 file, I'm more than happy to show you the statistics. When you record it first time, second time, third time, you will understand exactly what need to be augmented, what need to be added. Make sense? So Bakri, what's your reflection of this content? And how you'll apply it, and do you commit to do it next time?
It's really amazing. What opened up for me today was tremendous. I've been reflecting on the ads that I've been putting out, how I'm communicating to attract clients and not really giving value. What I'm focusing on, that, if you're struggling with money, don't worry about it. Just, have a free session with me and you will come up with the money, or you will find a need for that. But what I'm looking at here is actually doing the coaching and showing value for people to be able to choose me over somebody else. They don't have to know me intimately or to be good friends with me to know how I can help them transform. But I can put something together where I can show them value and have a good sequence, just like what we have on the board, to be able to provide them with that, to have them hold that in their hand, where it would be like, oh, that clicks, that makes a lot of sense. This is what I want to be doing. This is the guy that can help me with it. Or this may be the guy to help me with it. Let's try a free session. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Shamir, how?
So last time we went through this, I was overwhelmed, and I know why I was. Like, it was like just like, we're digging down into the trenches of this going from here, and that's just for one ingredient. It's like, that's crazy, right? That's what I felt. And then when I actually had the 2 weeks, when I actually started, started components of that, like, saying this is my first kind of theme, not even topic, this is a theme. And then I started fleshing out the different stories, the hooks, all those ingredients. Then when you asked me today, well, what's the topic? All I did was go back to my book that I wrote down, pulled it out. What are the ingredients? Information is already there. I didn't have to think on my feet. So when I actually know that I've got the raw components here, this structure really flowed for me. So I can see the power in this. I'm still a bit overwhelmed with the not with the information, I understand, but it's around the amount of work you have to put in order for you to build this workshop. It's like 3 hours to 1 hour of a workshop, but once you've done it, it's rinse and repeat.
It's always 3 to 4, between 3 to 4 to 1. It's always like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure I spent that much time in my other workshops. I didn't even think, and it wasn't even at this level of discipline that I did it. So imagine what would happen if I applied this discipline and really shape the workshop so that I can actually leverage it for future. So that's great.
The other advantage of this system, if you will go further in your practice for like a couple of years or so, you will start to create these ingredients. Here the ingredients are isolated from the others. So you can be asked to come to stand to talk on your feet.
Right.
All what you need to remember is what? 2 or 3 ingredients. And you by now know what you talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
So you will not need notes. That's right. I know, yeah, here we talk about videos. The other question is, should you use PowerPoint or no PowerPoint? It doesn't matter. These are just other questions you can talk about the ingredient. However, if you understand these ingredients, now can you come and talk for 20 minutes, for half an hour, for 1 hour, for 2 hours? It doesn't matter. All what I know is I will give a title, I will have 3-4 ingredients, 3-4 topics or 3-4 ingredients. I'll just go through the ingredients. I know what I should bring from my memory. I don't need to be having notes. Okay. Yeah. Sandon, so what's your reflection on this?
I actually thought of a really cool idea, which was to film these little nuggets and maybe just conveying a story with a call to action and integrating that into my quotes page, where it's kind of like my business page right now would have like the quotes, and then I could also integrate some of these nuggets. I could integrate maybe stories or features from other people, and it's also, so that's kind of cool. And then I've also kind of got the structure for writing my book in terms of not just delivering lots of content, but making sure that I'm answering these questions with all the content that I'm providing. Yeah.
And remember, when you order this in a sequence, you make it logical for people.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Mike, do you want to reflect on?
I thought I was all alone with being confused and
I didn't say confused, I said overwhelmed.
overwhelmed.
You're all alone when you're confused.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
No, the overwhelmed part. I mean, it was a lot to take in the other day, and the shift in thinking, and it opens up a lot of. All I can see is I can see a whole bunch of trees coming out, ranging from your titles, right?
Yep.
Your titles. You gave us that one thing on the power titles to use and power words to use. So I've got that there, 100 times the variance in all those titles, so that could be like 500, and that's just the title, and then all this falls below it, and I go,
Yeah.
holy crap!
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Exactly.
and then now I can do narratives against all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and then this creates the flow. So it's like, holy crap! I've got a lot of work ahead of me,
Or you've got a lot of content that
and I've
that's
got a lot
available
of
at
content that's available to. So I could, now I'm starting to see a bigger picture where now that I've created that tree with all these possibilities, I can go, okay, let's fill in this one, bring it together. With this one, bring it together.
you. Yeah, you've got a tree with lots of fruit. You can just pick at any time. That's what you're saying, right? That's
Yeah.
really cool.
And if you want me to reflect on what you say, guys, I shared with you today in less than 1 hour, in about 56 minutes exact, what I shared with you last time in 6 hours. And you had more comprehension in the 56 minutes than the 6 hours.
Well, because you warmed us up on the other.
And this is one of the learning we learn, is when you deal with adult learning, with people who are busy, repetitions is a key.
Yeah.
Summarization is a key. Getting the practice is a key.
But understanding of new techniques is also, I think that's where the 6 hours came in. Was
It
more,
takes time, yeah.
So today was the refresher, but the other day was the understanding. And really, I was overwhelmed. I don't know if you recall, but I had to get up a couple times just to go, wow. This is like, wow.
Yeah.
It's hitting me hard and formulating the questions correctly.
So this is what we did Monday.
Yes?
No, this past Monday?
No,
Yeah.
the Monday before.
The Monday before.
Yes.
The one that I missed,
Yes.
which did we do?
We can talk about this later.
Yeah, okay.
I missed that too. So did he.
Oh, okay.
So
Monday is when we went for lunch.
Yeah, the Monday we went for lunch.
That
This
was
is great too.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
to
So-
me it was overwhelming.
Oh, it
because
was
it's not-
overwhelming for me as
It
well.
wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't a thinking that I was used to.
one more nuggets for you once you record the video. If you went through a sentence or any, so if I'm starting at my starting point, you will not feel the confidence that you can speak for 5 minutes on video camera.
Mhm.
You will mumble, you will do a few things you don't like. So one more nugget for you. If you have this in front of you and you know now you are talking about why and how, and then you get to what and you mumble, what you do? Couple of snaps or couple of claps,
You can edit that.
and then you can go and starting the discussion from where? From the sentence which is you have here, that's right. So if you do these claps or snaps, what will happen is when you see the video line, the timeline of your video, you can track where the spikes are. So you can quickly remove the marker and cut at this spike. You don't need to know how to do it, but if you give it to somebody to edit your video, to be much easier. So whenever you struggle or you stumble or you feel like I would like to change this, just snaps or clap, it will give you a spike, and then you can start again. And the way we edit the videos, we edit backwards. So we start listening, and once we see the snap, we cut at the snap and we start to listen to see where the point started. It's also very important to have pauses. Though you can pause, because if you just keep talking, nobody will see it. I'm doing a couple of online TV projects as well, and the biggest challenge we have is when people having long pauses. So if you speak slowly, there are ways to accelerate the video, so to speed up the video. So you can speak slow and create 30 minutes. You can speed it up to create 20 minutes full recording, because you can basically accelerate the way based on how you want to talk, how you want to speed up. We're able to speed up few things up to twice, few video clips up to twice the speed, and it came very nicely. Nobody will notice, even this is like accelerated.
You're just accelerating the audio or the video too?
You accelerate
Yeah.
both. You
Yeah.
play at double
But
speed.
It'll be like a bad company.
No, I'm just wondering if it was just an audio file.
No, you double speed. You double speed everything.
The video as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you speak slowly, 1.5 or 150% acceleration will make it through.
I do that in YouTube videos all the time.
Okay. So the snap thing is is a very important nugget, that you can snap or clamp. So basically you say there is an audio marker here, and this audio marker will be able to cut where exactly you have problems. Any more questions?
So what's the size of a video file usually? Do you record it for half an hour before you start a new video file, or?
For me, it doesn't matter. For me, I record like 1 to 2 hours
And
sessions.
what's the size of your file?
Probably a couple of gigs.
Yes, it will be about a couple of gig of produced video. On the recording raw data, it can reach 20 gig. It's 20 to 30 gigabyte for 2 hours.
Yeah, but you would edit it and then.
Yep.
So you always record it on the laptop and then dump it to where? To your hard drive?
Yes.
Okay.
So the machine you should use, it should be a machine which you have couple of hundred gig free, or more.
Okay.
And you should stop. When we do the 3 days workshops, we cannot have more than half a day on a single machine,
Sure.
because it's just large files. Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
There is one. If you have no questions, we can break now. But there is one more topic I want to bring, and I want to actually challenge someone.
We're not
Okay.
naming any names.
Sorry, there we go.
I don't need any more challenges.
So, in psychology and in psychology, yes, they have what we call it the T model, which I don't agree with it. So the T model, they call your thoughts will drive your emotion, your emotion will drive your action, and your action will trigger your thought. And these are the cycles how they demonstrate people will be devastated, can suicide actually.
Okay.
Because your thoughts, you are abandoned, you will have lonely feelings, it will make you not talking to other people, so it will give you more captive in your own thoughts, more captive away from physical contact. It will drive a much harder emotions, and then you'll keep going, and then people can suicide. You can explain the whole process
Yeah.
of somebody coming from being sad to suicide based on these triangles. Someone today, without naming names, he brought in something which called we feel before we think. However, thoughts
No names.
are driving emotions.
They're not driving.
I don't think
they're
so.
reinforcing emotions.
See what I like.
In this model, which I don't like, I have a different model I'm using.
Yeah.
In this model, thoughts driving emotion, emotion driving actions. They call it the T model. You'll find lots of discussions on YouTube on the T model. And it's a very good, by the way, if you are doing life coaching, it's a very good introduction for your workshop, because majority of people inside the room will agree on this model. So if you want to shine in a life coaching event, once you talk about the whole reprogramming your software is to reprogram your thoughts.
Okay.
Once you reprogram your thoughts, you reprogram the software in your brain, or you reprogram your hard drive. The thoughts will change your emotion, and then your emotion will drive different actions. There's so many speakers, from Deepak Chopra to whoever, talks about this. And all what they do is they try to get your agreement that you have to play with your thoughts. Somebody today talked about, without naming names, people feel first, then they have thoughts.
So those are two different things. I agree with the top one. Those are two different things.
So what is the difference between the first one and the second one?
The first one, there's already been an initiated neural pathway created in your brain. So when you first experience a feeling that you haven't experienced before, you process it and say, okay, this is what it feels like. For PTSD, okay, when I see a dog, it bit me once, so anytime I see a dog or a dog-like creature, I'm going to react this way, and that becomes programmed. And so every time you see a dog, and now we're going into the T, so that initiating is the first feeling that you couldn't process. It built a neural pathway, which is inappropriate for you, but it's built in. Now what you're doing is, anytime you see a dog, you think that it's going to bite you in the ass without that action happening. It creates that emotion which you associated with that thinking process. Then you behave like your body responds. And the whole idea there is to interrupt it by noticing your emotions, saying, okay, that's the feeling part. If I feel first, I'm going to interrupt this, change my thoughts around that, and now you've reprogrammed a new neural pathway. So this is about an operating system that's already established. The feeling part is where you change the operating system.
So the people who start this one, they will disagree with you,
They may.
because they will always believe that you start with a thought. You have your initial thoughts which will driving your emotion.
Sure, they can say that.
So the question about how much sophistications are our audience in these models?
No, I get it. I have to bridge that gap, right?
Yeah, so majority of the time, our audience, especially on the life coaching side,
Yeah.
our audience are not psychologists, are not psychic, are not sociologists. So because of that, we have to understand,
Yeah, we have to bridge that gap. I get it.
you know. So I don't agree on this because my model is different. So
You're the third model.
in my model, I cannot quantify between thoughts and feelings. Because there are people driving by thoughts and there are people driving by feelings. And I cannot differentiate between emotion and behavior. Because the behaviors which we learn may impact the process. So if you adopt a behavior of just pushing through when you don't like things, this behavior will impact the process.
But what causes that behavior?
It's one ingredient which we cannot question. So if we want to break, we can break the emotion tied to the behavior. One example, in some cultures when they are happy they smile. In some culture when they are happy they laugh loudly. In some culture when they are happy they just make a different type of noise.
Right.
You know, in some cultures, like in African culture, if you eat a good food, you burp loudly. This is a sign of a good food. In some cultures, this is disgusting. That's right. I met kids, if somebody will burp, they will throw it. Okay? So, I cannot isolate behavior from emotions.
You can, because you just, in your sentence, said it. When I'm happy, I laugh. When I'm this, I'm that. The happy is an emotion, laugh is a behavior.
So when I am trying to observe as a speaker, I have to understand that people who are in this category, then the third category is you drive your actions and results are driven. So this is my definition. So I don't drive from thoughts. I include the other 6 because it doesn't need to be my action. It can be the result of my action. So if, for example, Bakri and is a good friend of mine, so I can talk about him. If he's Bakri and then I will push him, so he will basically send me a hook back to my face. It's the result of my action, which will get me feeling pain.
Okay, but this is one ingredient, and what you've just outlined is really several ingredients down, or several topics down. Because we're first starting, this is just an opening. Feel before you think, and then you move in that direction, and you can create that.
So for me, there are people who are thinker, and bunch are feelers. And for me, these two are not.
You're talking about what you're dominant leading in, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
Compared to this.
Yeah.
So again, it's the T model.
Yeah.
I drive this model.
Yes.
And I oppose the concept of you feel first,
Yeah.
then you think. I say there are some people.
But that cannot be debated because it's actually a scientific fact.
But you say feeling first.
Yeah, feeling first is a scientific fact. Actually, there's a pathway in the brain that goes through
Okay.
the centers that feel first before they go to the actual your executive function. It's actually a pathway. You're hardwired. People can explain that thoughts create things and they reinforce emotions, but the real physics, the fact of science is that the pathway of information that goes from the heart to the brain, there's more information from the heart to the brain, and it goes through that system, and the amygdala is actually there, that if they manages that it actually is there to detect anything that would have created an emotional response for you before, reminds you, and it hijacks your emotions.
So
that's a scientific fact.
Where you will position the actions now? Because this is a triangle.
Yeah.
This is a line. So in your line, you want to say emotions are going to.
Well, I'm saying that I can explain that as a reinforcing mechanism.
I
And
understand.
your thoughts will reinforce the emotions that actually created that thought.
Where the actions will be, like on this line here,
Yeah.
on the third model, on the second model,
Yeah.
there is.
Action as in-
So the action is driven by what?
By how he felt and how he thought about it.
the action by whom?
Like here, I
Neuromotor.
have
Or the
thoughts.
action.
Yeah.
I have thoughts drive emotion.
Yeah.
Emotion drive actions.
Right.
Here I have thoughts and feeling
Got it.
drive emotion and behavior.
Your thought.
Emotion and behavior drive action results.
Your feeling, if you cannot.
If you feel before you think,
Yeah. If you have, you have actually two pathways after your feeling. Okay. Just to simplify it, if your feeling has a rational expression, that means I'm sad, and you can actually notice that feeling associated with sad, you have an expression that will give you a behavior that is emotionally intelligent, which will be
Okay.
able to respond. If your feeling is unknown and you cannot associate that with a rational vocabulary, you will go into this cycle, and while it's doing that, the body says, I got to respond here because I have no rational thought about this, and you react based on this programming, that one there, the upper programming. That becomes your go-to subconscious programming. Thoughts create emotion, which create action, which then reinforce the thought, which reinforce the emotion, which reinforce the action or behavior. Until you interrupt that from stopping that cycle by rewiring the way by recognizing what you feel and saying, okay, stop this. I'm feeling stressed out. Now I'm going to stop this. I'm not going to behave. I'm going to interrupt that.
So I thought, or I was under the impression that you will say feeling drives thoughts and thoughts drive actions, and the action will change your feeling. And then you will create a reverse directions to this model.
Well, because so what I'm trying to say is that model there is your current operating system. If you wanted to upgrade your operating system, you have to interrupt that cycle.
I
So
agree.
that's really-
I
yeah.
agree on the interruptions. However, what's driving the emotion or the feeling here is the thoughts.
It is, but it's
Here you say the feelings, it comes before the thoughts.
feeling actually comes before the thoughts. That is actually a fact in science.
Okay. So this is where I wanted to bring it up because
No,
it
I
just
get that.
and
I'm
I
not
hope
saying
everybody
your
would.
thoughts, your thoughts create reality and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
there's a lot behind that.
Okay.
Anyway, I always start with, here's a scientific basis for this. Two indisputable facts. One is feelings information goes through feeling center first before the thought. The second thing is their heart's magnetic field is bigger than your brain's magnetic field. So when you are interacting with a person, they sense your emotions because you can measure the frequency spectrum on your emotion. You can actually measure it before you can actually think. Those are the two scientific facts. And then I don't care if it's Deepak Chopra or Brad Pitt. Blow them out of the water on science.
Okay.
That's already there.
Okay. 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 I hope people are benefiting from this particular discussion. So, yeah. Any more questions for me?
Are you guys ready for a fourth model?
You have a
cool.
oh.
Nice. There we go.
There we go.
So what's the fourth model?
It's actually how you want to feel, like your way of being.
So what's the model consist of?
The model thank you. The model consists of, usually we want to feel something, and that's what drives our thoughts, our action, our way of thinking. So instead of going through these steps and trying to find out the action and the thoughts and the feeling and how to be emotionally intelligent about your feelings and how you behave, you actually overlook everything and think about how you want to feel. So let's say that you got 2,000 subscribers that subscribe to your Monday thing every Monday, and you're making the exact amount of money that you've dreamed of
Yeah.
all these years.
Yeah.
How would you be feeling?
Awesome.
Okay, what way of being will you be being on every Monday?
What way of being?
Mm-hmm. Would you feel important? Would you? Oh,
To continue doing it, to be motivated to do more, to expand.
okay. Would you feel like you're being in service of other people?
Sure.
All right. How would that make you feel?
Great.
All right. So, by focusing on our way of being, we do the thinking and the feeling and the action and everything else to be able to feel that way.
Yeah.
Somebody would want to feel important. They would come and put a gun to your head. They feel superior. They feel like, they have their fate in your hand. And that's the way of being that they were looking for to feel or to be when they decided that, this is what I'm going to do.
Right. So the way of being is really what Mobile is saying, is thinking and feeling at the same time.
It's
really
everything together.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you think about that, I want to go today to Edmonton, and I want to be there by 4 p.m.
Yeah.
If the highway is blocked, I'm going to get a plane. If the weather's not cooperating, I'm going to get a train. And if the train is not working, I'm going to find somebody crazy enough with a big enough truck
Right.
to go through
So the inspiration would come first, that you want to go to Edmonton, then the actual unfolding of the linear path of going there.
Right, but
comes
you're
next.
not focusing on those steps.
No, but what happens is, this is the thing, is that it's not that you feel and then you set aside the feeling and then
Right.
just the thinking.
Mhm.
What happens is your inspiration comes first,
Right.
then you start putting the building blocks and
Mhm.
the feeling accompanies that.
Right.
Because then your gut tells you, okay, well that's not the right path, this is the path. Then the fear comes up because it's interacting with the feeling.
Right.
So it's not about you're devoid of feeling and thinking. I'm just saying what is the initiating event is the feeling, and then the thinking comes in and then both of them work together. So it's not like a separation of the two.
No,
But
no,
it's
it's
actually
summing everything
combining
up.
all of that
Mhm.
because then your thoughts will create the emotion that will toss you, that'll interrupt your feeling,
Right.
right? So you're completely interacting. I agree with that model. There's an interaction between thoughts and emotions,
Mhm.
but it's not a linear interaction.
No.
But the initiating event, from a physiological perspective, feeling comes first. That is why when they say, when you do a multiple choice question,
Mhm.
it says, as soon as the first response is the right response. Why? Because you haven't had a chance to think about it yet.
Right.
That's the key.
And you're trying to discredit the answer or see if.
Exactly.
But you're
Before the-
starting from thinking that it's right,
Yeah.
but is it right? And
Yeah.
then you start doubting
Doubt
yourself. Yeah.
It's that first response is your heart, which has a strong magnetic field,
Mhm.
which actually is an intuitive heart. We've shown that in science and in evidence. So that is really what I'm saying. Is the initiating event is a feeling, and then your rational brain and feeling kind of work hand in hand. And if you haven't created the neural pathways
Mhm.
to allow you to channel the fear,
Right.
your fear will take you to a different path.
Okay. And just to build up on that, that's actually what people that do drugs go after that first high. They got that first high and they felt amazing.
Right.
You'd be like, okay, we just need to up it up a little bit. We need to
Exactly.
do a little bit more. And the same thing when it comes to breaking through or making it in business or
Exactly.
making it somewhere. You got to that feeling where, oh, helping someone felt amazing. Changing somebody's perspective
Yeah.
or doing marketing for somebody that,
And you're looking for the next high.
right.
Yeah,
right.
because your endorphins are released
Yeah.
when you do that. Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. You're addicted. This is an addiction cycle. And going back to your way of being,
Mhm.
your way of being is not about creating that endorphin high. It's to change people's lives and to serve others,
Right.
which will in itself give you endorphins, but it doesn't have to kick you up a notch in your own achievements.
Right.
And that's a balance. It's a fine balance in life.
I get that.
Okay.
That's true.
I love this
Thank you.
healthy discussions.
Yeah.
So we are now at noon, so we can break now. And
Fantabulous.
next time, what will happen? We'll watch your videos. Okay, in 2 weeks from now, you should record
Pick one of
videos.
my 60 videos.
No, we wanna use the videos with this particular. Okay.
Done.
Have a good day.
All right.
I have two things I want to.
Copyright 2017 Win Your Brand. All rights reserved. This video is subject to copyright owned by Win Your Brand. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this video is expressly prohibited, unless Win Your Brand has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.